Next. Welcome to T4G Gamers. Today we are going to be doing a mock draft of the 2023 NFL Draft. And in this one, we're not going to do any trades. We're also going to draft in this one who we think they should draft, not who we think they will draft. Let's see if this video can get 3 million likes. But if you can't get that, 300 likes will do. And comment down below, who do you guys want to see your team draft? All right, so now I'm the Chicago Bears GM, and that's how I have to think of this. What if they're my favorite team in the world, each one of these teams? Who would I draft? Who am I going to go after? I want to rebuild this team and make sure they are the best of the best. So we have the first overall pick. Now, a lot of people are going to say Jalen Carter. And to me, that doesn't make sense. Because if I'm going to pass up on C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young with the first overall pick, who these guys are Ferraris at quarterback, if I'm going to pass up on them because I believe that we have our guy, Justin Fields, well, I need to realize that he ran for his life. Okay, he almost broke a record for running for his life. So going Jalen Carter is great and dandy, but it doesn't make sense. Okay, and I can't trade out of this pick because that's what the video is about, is not trading out of these picks right now. So I'd have to go with the next best option. We can take Braxton Jones, our left tackle, move him to right tackle, and start a really good left tackle, and we'll be good. We need a center after that. We can get a center in the second round. Okay, that's what we can do. But at this moment in time, getting a defensive tackle is just not going to help Justin Fields get any better whatsoever. Now, Paris Johnson Jr. is number 1 left tackle on our board, and close number 2 is Peter Skoronski. Now, Paris Johnson Jr. also went toe-to-toe against Jalen Carter, and he fared very well against him. Okay, so if I think Jalen Carter's our go-to guy, Paris Johnson Jr. hanging toe-to-toe with him and blocking him on multiple occasions, one-on-one, I got to go Paris Johnson Jr. It only makes sense. Going with Jalen Carter is just not going to do us any justice whatsoever. All right, so now I'm the Houston Texans, and who do I go with? Well, Bryce Young is a little bit more mobile, but he's really tiny. I don't think he's really 6 foot. I think he's shorter than that. I saw him next to C.J. Stroud on a photo, and it looked like C.J. Stroud was his papa. All right, so if I'm the Houston Texans, who am I going with? Well, I do love Bryce Young. Okay, I think Bryce Young is clearly the second best quarterback, but to me, C.J. Stroud's the number 1 quarterback. No one ever said Stroud was inconsistent with his arm, or that it took him a while to build up. The only knock on C.J. Stroud, and he's listed as 6'3", 220 pounds, or 215. The only knock on him, well, he doesn't use his legs when he should. And then against Georgia, he does. And here's one thing that's pretty incredible. Against Georgia, he threw for 348 yards with 4 TDs, no interceptions. Clean game. Miraculous game. Okay? And he did it with almost all of his backups in on offense. Think about that. Georgia had the best defense. There was no question. Look what he did against that best defense with backups in. Both of his running backs ended up being injured for majority of the game. Mayan barely played. He scored a touchdown, but it was like at the goal line, and then you didn't see him for like the second half. So then they started a true freshman at running back and then moved a middle linebacker over to running back. The tight end, Cade Stover, was injured in the first quarter, okay, right at the end of the first quarter. Didn't come back in for the rest of the game. You had your starting wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's so good he just sat out the entire year and said, I'm going to sit out in the playoffs too, even though I'm healthy. He sat out for the playoffs. Usually you sit out for like a regular bowl game, not the playoffs. He's so good, he sat out for the playoffs. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. gets injured in the fourth quarter, and he did all of that with a backup squad on offense. C.J. Stroud, his accuracy is off the charts. His arm strength is off the charts. The way he reads is off the charts, reads defenses. He gets wide receivers open, which is a huge thing. They talk about how, oh, guys are always open at Ohio State. They are open quite a bit, but at the same point in time, guys can be connected hip to hip, and you'd see it in the Georgia game, and he'd get a guy open. So C.J. Stroud's our number 1 quarterback. We're going C.J. Stroud, no question about it. Now, you're the Cardinals. I'm the Cardinals at this moment in time. I got Jalen Carter still left on the board. Can't go quarterback, even though I would want to go quarterback. I'm not 100% sold on Kyler Murray. I never was really 100% sold on Kyler Murray. But at this point in time, your D-line is looking garbage. Okay, you got J.J. Watt retiring, and it's getting uglier day by day. So at this moment in time, going Jalen Carter is going to be the best bet. For the Colts, I don't think this is a tough one. I think whoever lands on the Colts over the Texans, I think is going to have an easier part of the beginning part of their career, okay, because they just have a better team. So at this moment, if I'm the Colts, I'd have to go with Bryce Young. Now, if I'm the Seattle Seahawks on the clock here, we do have another pick 20, which is fantastic. Thank you, Broncos. You guys are fantastic. I would have to go with Will Anderson. Just to revamp that defense. That defensive line's getting old. They definitely are. They're getting old, and bringing a guy like that is just phenomenal for our team. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, for the Detroit Lions, getting an extra really good edge rusher would be great. Now, cornerbacks would be good, but at this moment, I would want to really establish that defensive line and just put the best defensive line out there. Now, I like Myles Murphy quite a bit, but Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, this guy is huge. He's like 6'6", 275, strong as an ox, and he actually went against Paris Johnson Jr., and he fared well. It's not like he was breaking through him or crushing him down, but he was competing, and you could tell that Paris Johnson was really giving it his all to stop Lucas Van Ness because he is that powerful. Iowa's defense is a strong defense. You know, they stopped Kentucky 0-21. They actually beat them up worse than Georgia did, and it's because of guys like this. You know, they just have some monsters on their team, and Lucas Van Ness is the guy I'd pick up. I'd put him on the opposite side is Aiden Hutchinson, and that defensive line would be scary for the next 10 years. All right, so I'm the Raiders now at this moment. Now, people are probably saying go with Will Levis. Here's the thing about Will Levis. He was actually 5th on my big board for quarterbacks, and the reason he was 5th was this, okay? He is inconsistent and makes mistakes. That's the problem. He is a turnover monster. This last year, he had 19 TDs, 10 interceptions, 2,400 yards passing. Year before that, he had 24 TDs, 13 interceptions. His TD to interception ratio is not getting better, okay? It's not good. He's careless with the ball, all right? Yes, he has all the talent in the world. Would it shock me if he was another great quarterback? No, but he needs time to develop and to build up and to do all that. But you want to be careful of just drafting quarterbacks early because of the hype train. Ask the Jets. Ask the Browns. These teams have done it consistently where they go and they'll take one of their top-end picks and they'll go and draft a quarterback. Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson. They just keep doing it. You got Baker Mayfield. And then where are the Browns? Well, those guys aren't no longer on the team. It was a wasted draft pick. You could have drafted someone who's really good and built up your system. Look at other teams. The Philadelphia Eagles built up their system. They won a Super Bowl with their backup quarterback, Nick Foles. They got Jalen Hurts in round 3? Something like that. And look at them now. They're doing really well. If Jalen Hurts left the team and they picked up someone else, they're probably going to do really well. Look at the 49ers. They're deep into the playoffs with Mr. Irrelevant. You build up the system first, then you worry about the certain pieces. Don't try to save yourself in the draft by drafting Will Levis and hoping like hell that it pans out. Look, let someone else storm the beach. Let someone else be the Jets. Let someone else be the Browns in that regard. And then you just wait back and you just draft the best guys that you can draft. So Will Levis, I think someone will take a chance on him in the first round. I think certain teams, you might as well take a chance on him. But if I'm the Raiders at this moment in time, I'm getting Peter Skoronski, and I'm probably going to put him at right tackle as much as I think he is going to be lights out at left tackle. But they also have really good left tackle sitting right now. But I'm going Peter. And I'm going to go from there. So I'm the Falcons, and here's what's interesting. Last year, they said that Desmond Ridder, some mock drafts said that Desmond Ridder was a first-round pick, and then we drafted him not in the first round, and then now they're saying we need a quarterback still. So those mock drafts that had him in that were wrong. He wasn't a first-round pick. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good quarterback in the future. You have to play it out. You have to let him build up. He's only a rookie right now. Let him build up, go from there. Drafting a quarterback is just not going to do us any justice whatsoever at this moment in time. If I go and draft a wide receiver too, yes, that can help. There's no doubt about that. We don't need a tight end. The offensive line is good. In certain areas, it's great. Now, the defensive line is really where I'm most concerned. Now, you could get a D tackle, Brian Breesy. I'm not sold on Brian Breesy. I'm just not sold on him. Watch this film, and I'm not blown away by Brian Breesy. Okay, I think he could be a good defensive tackle in the league. But I don't see anything right now that's telling me I got to get him over some of the other guys on my board. All right, now I know Myles Murphy he's good. I like him a lot, and I don't know why this guy's so far down. It doesn't make any sense to me. But BJ from LSU, this guy he's a nightmare. Okay, he is definitely a nightmare, and I'm picking him up with this pick because I want to solidify that defensive line and just crush it. And I think BJ is going to do that through and through. That guy is a nightmare. All right, so I'm the Carolina Panthers. I'm not going to go draft a quarterback in this situation. I'm not going to storm the beach, let someone else do that. Will Levis, there's not enough for me to say, hey, I got to go pick him up right now at this pick. The thing about Sam Darnold is he was already bust. I don't want to draft another bust or have the potential of that. I want to draft guys who I really believe are going to be good, and I don't really have many questions about it in my mind. Now, offensive line, they're pretty well off. Defensive line, really nice defensive line. There's positions they can use, but the one position that they need most, and you got to think about it. If I had in my head, well, I'm going to replace Sam Darnold anyways in the future, well, then this draft pick here needs to help a new quarterback that's going to come into the system. And to do that, I'm going to draft a tight end because Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble are not nearly as good as Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. This guy's a monster. I would pick him up. And you got to think, too, when the Panthers were at their best, it was when they had their really good tight end. And he was it Greg? How am I forgetting the guy's name? Anyways. You build on positions you need. I'm going with tight end, and I think that's going to do the Carolina Panthers wonders. So I'm the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you could go with a wide receiver and end up getting, just such a good wide receiving core. You could go with a cornerback as well. The biggest piece I see, though, Brandon Graham is getting older, and you're going to want to look to start to replace in that area. Okay, that's what I would really want to see the Eagles do. If I'm the Eagles GM, I'd want to keep them going. I'm drafting Myles Murphy, and that's who I'd want to pick up. If you could get him or BJ, that's what I would do, and I'd have no problem with that whatsoever because I think those two guys have a great shot at being successful. I think BJ has a little bit more upside. That's me personally. But I think Myles Murphy is not too far behind. So I'm the Tennessee Titans general manager. I'm on the clock. What's going on? How you doing? I'm here to change the team forever. All right, wide receiver's a problem, right? You want to go draft a wide receiver, and I know I would be salivating over the wide receivers right now. I really would. And I still would be shocked if some of these guys didn't go and pick up a wide receiver early. I'm doing what I think is best for the team, right? That's what I'm doing. So Tennessee Titans, Jackson Smith and Jigba up on the board. I would love to get him. Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson. There's some good wide receivers up here. Cornerback room, a little bit of a problem. They're young, and they've just not been effective. Okay, maybe that could be coaching. You can change that up with some coaching. However, Devin Witherspoon's sitting on the board too, and it would just be real nice to either have a cornerback or a wide receiver. But here's the biggest problem of all. Your identity as the Tennessee Titans is to run the ball. What couldn't you do? Run the ball. Taylor Lewan was injured. Okay, he keeps getting injured. He's coming up on his last year of his contract. Most of it is salary-based and not guaranteed money. So he could get cut, and you could save money. Tennessee Titans need to save money. Cutting Ryan Tannehill unless you're trading for another quarterback who's really good is not a good deal. Your left guard is not good. Your center is fine. Ben Jones, yeah, he's injured, but he's fine. Okay, he's consistent in the league. Nate Davis is injured as well. Nate Davis is good. And he's coming up on a contract, so there's that. Your right tackle is Nicholas Petit-Fier out of Ohio State, who's a rookie. Now he's a one-year pro. He's going to have time. It's going to take time for him to develop. All right, so at this moment in time, as much as I would love to go and get a wide receiver, the best thing that I should do is draft a guy who I believe is going to be a beast, and that's Anton Harrison. I think he is going to fit right in, put on a helmet, and he's going to play day one. So I'm the Houston Texans. What's going on? General manager for the Houston Texans. I'm just here to light it up. Nothing big, nothing special, just doing our thing. And what I want to do is I want to make a splash. So I just got a Ferrari, right? I just got C.J. Stroud in the house. What I want to do is I don't want to park my Ferrari out in the alleyway. I want to give my Ferrari a little love. In order to do that, there's no reason to get a quarterback of this magnitude and say, hey, by the way, I know you only have one wide receiver, Brandon Cooks. The rest of them are okay. I got a good running back. no tight end for you, and an offensive line that definitely needs to be patched up. But no, I'm going to go with defense right now. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go defense. I'm going to go offense, and I'm going to pull a Bengals, okay? I'm going to go get his buddy. I'm going to go just like Jamar Chase went with Joe Burrow. I'm going to go get Jackson Smith-Njigba, and you cannot tell me that this wouldn't be the absolute splash of splash for the Houston Texans. This would just send shockwaves, and it would be like, hey, we are going to smash you down. Not only did you just get C.J. Stroud, but the smile on his face when he just got his wide receiver back, Jackson Smith-Njigba, would just be amazing. I would love to see it. And if I'm the Houston Texans, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. Now, when it comes to the Jets, this is a tough situation because in reality, what you need the most is quarterback. Okay, you need quarterback really bad. Zach Wilson is just not the guy. Joe Flacco, not the guy. Mike White, I don't care what anyone says. He's not the guy. Okay, so quarterback is a problem. There's no question. Running back, you got Breece Hall and you got James Robinson. He'll come back from injury. Breece Hall, he's going to be fine. Wide receiver, you got Garrett Wilson, Moore, you got Corey Davis. Tight end, you got Jeremy Rucker, who's a rookie. He still has the opportunity to do good. He's from Ohio State. Solid guy, could run block and do a lot, but he's young and, time will tell if they can develop him into a tight end that he could be. Big guy. CJ Uzomah, you have Tyler Conklin. Your left tackle, Dwayne Brown, needs to be replaced. He's getting older. Your left guard's fine for now. Connor McGovern is good. Your right guard is, you have injuries too. That's another thing that plagued you to death, was just injuries. And then you got Becton. Your defensive line is solid. Your outside linebackers are garbage. Besides, the only linebacker who's good is your interior linebacker, C.J. Mosley, but, he is getting older. There is that. Your cornerback crew is saucy, pun intended. Safeties could use a little bit of, sprucing up. But here's the thing. With the pick that you have, this is a real tough situation for me. And you could very easily make the wrong decision here. You could make the wrong decision. But you need a quarterback, and you have a team built up already where it's like, wow, this team is actually they have a good shot at going to the playoffs if they get the right pieces in place. Okay? And with your 13th pick, you don't have another draft, and if a team's like, man, we really need a quarterback, there's only 6 guys on my big board that I truly believe in. The rest of the guys, it falls off after that, and you're looking at, okay, I got pick 43. Who's to say my quarterback's still going to be up there? And as much as drafting a quarterback early may just seem reckless, it also may say, hey, you know what? I'd rather be wrong than right. I'd rather be wrong, him come onto my team. He wasn't very good. We overdrafted him. Look, it sucks, but that was the one piece that we needed to really change us. Instead of saying, wow, I was right. That guy was a beast. I should have drafted him. Holy crap, he's a monster, and he could have been on our team. He was in our grasp. So I'd rather... honestly, I'd rather be wrong than right. And I know it sounds insane, but on the quarterbacks that we have, Will Levis is not my next best quarterback. It's actually Hendon Hooker. I know he has an injury, that horrific injury that he had. He also is 25 years old. Apparently that's a knock on him too, that, the guy's 25 years old and, that's not good, even though I've never heard of a team not signing a guy because he was 25. That doesn't really make sense. So bringing him as a rookie, quarterbacks last till they're like 82 now. That's like the going rate. So I don't really understand that. Hendon Hooker, let me explain something to you real quick. For those of you that may say, please don't do this, let me explain something to you real quick. 58 TDs, 5 interceptions. Now let me repeat that. 58 touchdown passes with only 5 interceptions in 2 years. And he did it on Tennessee. I'm not saying Tennessee's bad, but what I'm saying, they're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. I know they beat Alabama, but they were coming from behind towards the end of that game, and it was not looking pretty for him. And the guy who won him that game was Hendon Hooker. Okay, he was the guy who was making every read was, this has to be precise as hell. The time is ticking, and he was doing that. Obviously, you have to have a really good wide receiver. But when you're talking 58 TDs with only 5 interceptions, I could not imagine what he would do on Alabama. I could not imagine what he would do on Georgia. I think if he was on some of those teams, you may be talking that he would be he would replace Bryce Young as that quarterback that everyone's trying to go and get. Hendon Hooker needs to work on a few things. He needs to take better hits because he's just kind of a little reckless with his hits. He needs to go down. Hopefully you can teach that, but I would have to draft Hendon Hooker at this moment in time, and I'd have to take a chance on him. I know it'd be crazy to some people, but man, if he pans out, you're going to look like a G. And the rest of these guys, I guarantee you Hendon Hooker's on some of these guys' board, and they're going, hey, we'd like to have him. All right, I'm the Patriots guy. What's up? How you doing? I'm tough, I'm rough, I'm ready to rumble. All right, and we're going to go with Devin Witherspoon. That's all there is to it. This guy is going to add to the Patriots. He's a smart player. He's the best cornerback in the draft, in my opinion. If you're sitting in this scenario, this is who I would go after, and I would be happy as a pig in crap if I'm the Patriots. Yes, they need other weapons, no doubt about that. But if you patch up that cornerback crew, you just lost a really good cornerback, you patch up that cornerback, and it says team needs that they need a quarterback. I don't understand that. Let Mac Jones play a little bit more before you oust him just yet. I don't think it's smart to start drafting more quarterbacks. It just wouldn't be intelligent. So at this moment, getting Devin Witherspoon, it's going to do wonders for the Patriots. So I'm the Green Bay Packers. I'm on the clock. What am I going to do? I'm going to do something fancy here. Now, a lot of people probably think, go get Jordan Addison, go get Quentin Johnson, go get one of these guys at wide receiver, right? There's speculation that they're going to trade Aaron Rodgers away. That's not going to affect how I draft for the Packers. It's not going to affect that. Now, what I'm going to try to do is something a little bit different. Okay, there are some really good wide receivers that you can get in the second round, probably. This is going to be tough, but you could possibly get them. Now, one guy in particular that I'd be looking for would be Parker Washington. Okay, Parker Washington is a sophomore. He was not projected to go into the draft. He did declare for the draft. And the thing about him is he is a sleeping giant. If he pans out to his full capabilities, you're going to remember his name. People will be asking us, how do you trade for him on Madden? Okay, that's how good he can be. All right, whether he'll get there or not is another story entirely. But Parker Washington on Penn State, he ended up having his biggest game against Ohio State. All right, some of the biggest games that he played that he did well in was against the biggest opponents, and he just crushed. The thing about it, Penn State has a really good wide receiving crew, and a lot of these guys are going to get subbed in and out. And the thing about Parker Washington is that he needs to develop more. He really does. And he didn't get to show off his true potential because they had Clifford at quarterback. And Clifford is not the quarterback who's going to really give you a bunch of receiving yards. He's just not. That's not the type of quarterback he is. He's really good at running Penn State's system. But they're going to get a new quarterback in, and you're going to start seeing more wide receivers from Penn State come out of the woodworks. I can guarantee you that. Now, I would try to get one of these wide receivers in the later round, because what I would do is I would go get a tight end, because the tight end really needs to be fixed. And if you get a very good tight end, you are going to end up, it's really good. One thing with the Chiefs, what makes the Chiefs really good, they have a very talented tight end, Travis Kelce, right? Without Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, I don't care who they have at quarterback, it's still going to be a completely different team, even more so than with Tyreek Hill. So I'm getting Dalton Kincaid. That's who I'd pick up, and I'd want to give whichever quarterback I have there the most options possible, and that's Kincaid. He's the best tight end left in the draft, in my opinion. So I'm the Washington Commanders. I'm on the clock. What's going on? How y'all doing? So you need a quarterback for the Commanders. Now, my next best quarterback for me is Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall, I know some of you guys may be shocked by this, but he is number 4 behind Hendon Hooker. He's going to be 25 years old at the draft. He'll run about a 4.5, 4.6, 40-yard dash around there. But that doesn't matter to me because he's fast. If you watch his film, you break down his film, he's a fast quarterback. Okay, he's had some injuries here and there. He's, and with his age and then his size, people are a little bit skeptical about him, right? Rightfully so. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, but he's still bigger than Bryce Young, and he's bigger by a lot. All right, and I know he's listed at 205 and Bryce Young's listed at 194, but just look at those guys next to each other, and you're going to see there's a lot more muscle on Jaren Hall than there is on Bryce Young. Okay, he is older, I get that, but the thing about him, he's very mobile. He makes really good reads. He can make elite NFL throws. Some of the throws he struggles with is like the basic throws. But I'd rather have a guy who struggles with the basic throws but can make all the elite NFL throws. Okay, because you can work on that. To say, hey, I'm going to get a guy who can make all the basic throws, but I need to work on his elite throws. Nah, I'm not with you on that. Now, Will Levis, also another great option at this moment in time, but I'm nervous with his turnovers. I've mentioned that quite a bit. I am nervous with his turnovers. Jaron Hall is a guy that if he gets in the right system and he plays to his highest potential, everyone will know who he is. Everyone. They'll have no question. Teams will be like, God, we had him right there, sitting there. We could have picked him up. Now, I don't think they're going to pick him up, so I wouldn't pick him up right now because I don't think teams would go after him right at this moment in time. I just don't think that they would. But then again, once I become general manager of each one of these teams, that could change quickly. So there is that. Now, you could utilize a guard right at this moment in time. You got Osiris Torrance still on the board, and that's who I'd pick up. You're going to solidify that quite a bit and crush that down. Now, for the Steelers could use a lot of weapons. They could use tackle as well. But I honestly think that either you could go tackle or you could go cornerback at this moment in time. Maybe you'd want to, get the next best cornerback, which is Christian Gonzalez or Joey Porter. I would actually get Joey Porter Jr. first. But then you could also go with an offensive tackle and just get a really nasty offensive tackle. And, I mean, this one's tough for me. This one's real tough because I think Darnell Wright, the thing about him is he did go up against Will Anderson, and he did play well against Will Anderson. Okay, so that is something that I like. Cody, although I think Cody's upside is better than Darnell Mooney, Darnell Wright, I think that the safe bet would be to go Darnell Wright. That would be the safe bet at this moment in time. So I'm the Detroit Lions. Welcome in. How you doing? So here's the problem. Here's the dilemma. Cornerback, I think you could really utilize. I think you could also utilize a really good tight end. So this is where it just becomes tough because you got Joey Porter Jr. sitting here, who I think is the next best corner. And then right after that, not too far behind, is Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez, either one of these guys could end up just doing amazing work in the NFL. Joey Porter Jr. is a big guy too. He's like 6'2" or something. Big guy, and he's solid. He is a solid cornerback. You got to think of it too. He goes against Ohio State every single year. He goes against Michigan, so he gets the best of both worlds. Huge run game, huge passing attack, and he performs in both of those scenarios. So Joey Porter Jr. is a guy I really like. I do really like him. Witherspoon's off the board at this moment. Now, at tight end, a position that's like, man, I'd really like to see them establish that tight end. You saw that they went defense here. You're kind of going the opposite, which actually is really interesting. And I didn't even think about this because Lucas Van Ness was on Iowa too, and you may go 2 Iowa boys, which would be crazy. But Sam Laporta, I saw enough from Sam Laporta that it's like, man, this guy could be very good. And he really could. And the thing is he's sitting here because they had no quarterback. If they had a quarterback, Sam Laporta may end up being the first overall tight end, and you're not having this opportunity to get him. So I'd have to go with Sam Laporta and Iowa. 2 teams now walk away with the same on the same college. That's amazing. That just panned out. I didn't even expect that, but hey, that's how it panned out. Now, for the Bucs, okay, quarterback would be your thing. Now, I think here, people, even though I have Jaron Hall on my big board, I think it would be really hard not to draft Will Levis because I think you would just have so much pressure. Like, why did we draft Jaron Hall? Why did we draft him? And, if they stay true to, if Tom Brady doesn't come back, what have you, and they stay true to what they're trying to accomplish, both these quarterbacks are actually like odd quarterbacks for them. Jaron Hall is probably a little bit better. Will Levis can be more of an improvising style quarterback. He can run at times, and he can run effectively. Tanner McKee, I just feel like would be a better placement for the Bucs. But man, this is a tough one here. So at this moment, you have the Bucs. It looks like they could really utilize a quarterback in this situation. You got some really good guys left. At this point, I would go with Cody. I'd pick him up. I know there's still some good quarterbacks on the draft, or potentially good quarterbacks in the draft, but Cody, I just feel like he's solid. And I would love to see what he can do in the right system. So if you're Seattle, you're sitting in this spot, I think Steve Avila is a good guy to pick up. Also, Andrew, I also think you could go with John Michael Schmitz or Luke Whippler. You could even move them into right guard or left guard. These guys are centers. But Steve is a guy that I would have to take a chance on him. I really would. He's a very big and nasty guy, and I would just have to take a chance on him. So now we're sitting with the Chargers, and they could use an offensive tackle like really, really bad. And at this moment in time, I would go with Duncan. And I know he's far down on this list, and I don't really understand why. Duncan's a beast. Okay, he's an absolute beast. The next guy on my board for offensive tackle would probably be Broderick Jones. But Duncan is a guy that, man, oh man, I really like Duncan. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if he went above Darnell Wright. I almost want to say Mooney every time. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. He could even go above Anton Harrison, and I wouldn't be shocked. That's how good he is, okay? So I really like Duncan. I think he's a monster, and he is constantly playing against the DNs from Ohio State, from Michigan. He plays elite talent every year, and he does well against that talent, and I think he would do great on the Chargers. So the Ravens are on the clock. There's a lot of positions they definitely could utilize. The thing is it's hard for them to get wide receivers because of the system that they have. It is just tough. Now, if I still had Jordan Addison on the board, that's who I'm going with. And I would highly imagine that these guys would probably go even earlier at the wide receivers, just because I think that the skilled positions are something that they go after. My drafting technique would be a little bit different, as you can tell. I'm getting a lot of in the interior line. I'm going to get that first and then worry about the skilled guys later, because a lot of these teams really need offensive linemen. Okay, they really need them, and there's some good offensive linemen left on the board that you would definitely want to go and pick up. Okay, so with the Vikings, there's a lot of options that you could go after. I mean, there's just so much still left on the board. So we got the Vikings up on the board. They really could use an interior lineman. They really, really could use an interior lineman. But they could also use a fantastic corner, and I would have to go Joey Porter at this moment. I mean, it would be so tough whether you go offensive lineman or whether you go Joey Porter Jr., who's really good. There's still some good linemen left on the board, and I would pick up most of the really good linemen early on and just solidify my offensive line. And now, with the Vikings, they're adding a very good cornerback, and it's going to, their cornerbacks could use some help. No question about it. Now for the Jaguars, you got to protect your investment. Okay, you got to do it. I'm going with Andrew. He's the one guard left that I truly believe in, that I'm like, hey, this guy, he has the potential to be a true monster. And so it would be very tough not to pick him up. So there's a lot the Giants need. Quite a bit, in fact. I mean, they could utilize some wide receivers. I get all that. They need that. But one thing they do need is a center. They need to start polishing up that offensive line, because you just got the guy from Alabama, Evan Neal, last year. You really just need to keep building up that offensive line as much as you can. You got Andrew Thomas. You might as well go and get the best center in the draft right now. At least he's right there at the very top. And I'd pick him up, and that's John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. The guy's a beast, absolute beast, and it would be so hard not to pick him up in this situation. I know they need a linebacker. I know they need certain positions, and there are some really good wide receivers still on the board. But dang, man, it would be tough to pass up on John Michael Schmitz or Luke Whippler from Ohio State. All right, so sitting in this situation with the Cowboys, there are positions that they could really utilize. Now, for me, a linebacker that I do really enjoy, and I think he is going to be a guy that you should take a chance on. I love these three guys here. Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell, and Trenton Simpson. I think all three of these guys could be really good. I think Jack Campbell and Trenton Simpson are a little bit more plug and play than Drew Sanders is. Drew Sanders is a guy, if you get him a little bigger, he's very fast. He could be a very dangerous because he is just so fast. But Trenton Simpson, I like the guy. I like him a lot. And if I'm the Cowboys, that's who I'm picking up. And this is interesting because we got 2 Tennessee guys up looking back on this. 2 Ohio State guys, and then 1 Georgia guy. Almost 3 Iowa guys, too. They have a good... And it's all defense, of course. And their tight end, actually. I forgot about the tight end. But anyways, Trenton Simpson... man, I would love to see what he could do on the Cowboys. And if I'm the Cowboys, I'm definitely picking him up. Out on the Buffalo Bills now, it's time to light it up. I think you need to go offensive tackle at this moment. I know they say you need center and guard. I'm going to get Broderick Jones. That's who I'm picking up. I don't want to have Josh Allen running for his life or getting sacked a lot. You just got to deal with it. Go pick up a guy. Be done with it. Now, if you're the Bengals, you got a lot of positions that you could definitely utilize. You can utilize more linemen, there's no doubt. Blake Freeland, I think you could probably get him in the second round. I don't know how early you can get him in the second round or how late you can get him in the second round, because I do think a team would, especially who needs a tackle, and so many teams need good linemen, I would have a hard time. This guy would be scary to lose. DeJuan Jones, I'd rather lose DeJuan Jones than Blake Freeland, personally. But then again, when you're sitting there and you got Christian Gonzalez still on the board, oh man, I would have such a hard time not picking up Christian Gonzalez. Such a tough time. So if I'm sitting with the Broncos, I would have a real hard time not just saying, all right, I'm going to go with Blake Freeland and pick him up and go from there, because you may draft him a little bit early, but with what you need and what you don't have, that's the other thing. You don't have your 37th pick, or this would be great, right? Where's your second round pick? Okay? You don't have it. So you're sitting here where you're not going to have a second round pick. What do you got to do? You just got to, hey, all right, this guy is the best tackle left on the board, and he's a true left tackle. So you can move guys around on the offensive line, but do I think he's going to come out right out of the gate and be phenomenal? No. But I think within 2 years' time, you're going to be like, wow, he polished up nice. That guy turned into a beast. So this actually turned out crazy, because I actually was not expecting this to happen. But how it fell out is I was picking the best options for what I believe that the team needs now. And this was a crazy draft. I mean, honestly, I didn't even expect all this to happen. I just go into it every single team that what could they use right now that's going to help them right now and make them better. Not just what's the best in the draft. What's the best in the draft for them at this current moment. And that's what you need to look at. It's not about just drafting multiple of the same position. Now you're the Chiefs. This becomes scary. Oh, man. That's just right there. If that fell the way that fell, yikes. But you look, picking them up on the Broncos, that's great, that's dandy, but the last thing you want to do is just pick up the best halfback, who I think Bijan Robinson could be 99 overall type if you're considering it in Madden terms. That's how good he can be. He could be the next JT. Like, this guy is so good. But if you're the Broncos and you're looking at it, or you're some of these other teams, and you're like, yeah, let me draft the best running back who I think can be a Hall of Famer. That's great. That's dandy. But you need that offensive line. Broncos, they needed this. Yeah, great. Draft Bijan Robinson. You're going to make a huge splash. It's going to look great. And you're going to give him the ball 500 times, and you're not going to be able to block for him efficiently. There's going to be more running backs that come through. You're going to find good running backs, okay? Maybe not as good as Bijan, but that's why it's tough. Like, some of this, it's like, well, you go get Broderick Jones. You really need to solidify what you already have. And if I'd go back and I was the Broncos, even if I knew Bijan Robinson was the next great Hall of Fame running back, I'd still draft Blake Freeland, because, hey, I had to take the chance to patch up my offensive line. I don't have the draft picks. We just traded for a quarterback, and it didn't pan out. And you know what? I got to protect them. But if the Chiefs end up getting Bijan Robinson like this, oh, yikes. I'm doing that every day. I don't care what anyone says. I'm doing that every day till Sunday because this would just make this team unholy. So I know this is, a little intense here, but I don't think Luke Whippler is going to last like all that long. And if you're the Eagles and you want to start preparing for Jason Kelce's departure, you might as well go get the next best guy. I mean, you're looking at the second round. You're at pick 63, okay? You are not going to be able to patch up your offensive line. Yes, you could go get really skilled positions that are guys that probably should have been drafted in the first round. But how you're looking at it, man, I'm going to go get Luke. I'm going to go pick him up. The dude's a beast. You see what he did against Georgia. He's a beast, man. So I'd pick him up. I'd still keep that offensive line the way it is of just being a beast. And I'd protect my investments. And that's a way to protect your investments. So looking it all over, this was a fun draft, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sure some people will disagree, but this is what I would do. This is exactly what I would do.